Me at 3 in the morning in my office making beats while my wife tries to get me to come to bed.
No.
Also me after 10 hours in the lab cooking up beats. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Spoilers ahead if you're not caught up to season 4, episode 5. Let's get right into this. Right off the bat, they pick up right where we left off at the cabins with the Cabbage Patch Freyboggers, or the Scarecrows. Now, this was something I talked about in season 3, and to see this materializing was fire. Now, I dropped some jewels about the Cabbage Patch Fairy, or the Le Fée Enchant film from 1896 by Alice Guy in this video right here. In that same video, I also talked about how the monsters eat the organs of the travelers, and in this video, I even posed the question if Boyd had bared witness to them eating the organs of T and Chen. And speaking of Boyd, did he witness the slow walkers eating the organs of T and Chen? I spoke about the Cabbage Patch dolls and the ideal of living dolls in Frumlin, along with the ventriloquist doll and the necromancy of speaking from the belly. And now we have Fatima erecting a golem. More on that later. But one of the biggest takeaways from this section of the story is that Tabitha recalled the dolls and the man's dreams right in front of the woman who just had half her face burnt off by the Scarecrow, and she knows that her friend Roger was deleted by one of them. And young Jade said that when the people found out about Jabitha's reincarnation situation, they blamed them, and then they took it out on both of them due to their connection to this place. Now, when they were in the post office, Boyd asked the few who knew about this to keep it from the rest of the travelers, and now Patty knows that Tabitha has this information, and I'm thinking that Donna will ask her to keep it on the hush, but after Roger getting pulled apart, I think she'll be telling everything that she knows that went down. And speaking of that, Ellis ain't shit for leaving Roger the way he did. I mean, he already pussied out by running, but did he really have to shut the door behind him like this? I mean, this was crazy. And for real, that's just another splinter in the wood that'll drive a wedge between these travelers. And I think Donna might have pissed them off too by cutting a hole in the shirt to see if they had a heart. And with those things still running around out there, I think there still might be a price to pay. And then Tabitha reinforced the narrative by saying that she remembered how to hurt those things right in front of Patty. So I think she's definitely going to tell what she knows when she gets back. I mean, Elgin did say that the truth would come out. And I mean, it's not like Tabitha's going to go back to the town and say,
I was Joan of Arc in my former life.
I also found it interesting that Tabitha had the recollection about the totems in the same place that Ethan buried that bird. And my thing about the bird was, how did it die? I mean, it just had a broken wing. I remember noticing Sophia's broken arm and the bird's broken wing at the same time. And I'm wondering if her remembering how to hurt the scarecrows by the bird's grave is foreshadowing somebody remembering how to hurt the man in yellow. And if the bird's death foreshadows Sophia's death. I mean, it's just something to think about. And this is the thing about this episode that I found really interesting. It was the duality between Jade and Tabitha's journey of recollection. One goes on this shamanic mushroom trip to find out answers, and the other one uses objects and circumstances to jog the memories of her dreams as a little girl. And it's deep to realize that Tabitha was having dreams of her reincarnated self as a child, and Jade's memories are getting rekindled by the child version of himself. I mean, you had Jade's younger self playing music, Henry playing music, the music with the scarecrows, the singing that they heard outside, and that made Tabitha remember. And then you had Mary reliving the music box situation. Them having the from musical elements in each one of the arcs in this episode was really dope. You had Mary being a recovering addict, reliving her trauma and grief. Then you had Henry being an alcoholic, stashing moonshine and getting shit-faced to process his trauma and grief. Jade's on a mushroom trip while Tabitha reflects on a sober recollection. And both of those feminine aspects are sober while the masculine aspects are high and drunk. And with that balance being Fatima was struggling between the need to feel powerful and that connection to Smiles Davis. I mean, the balance in the storytelling and the editing of this episode was fire. And to top it off with a dope twist about the basement at Colony House and the tunnels and the reveal of Jade's journey actually being a hallucination while he was at the post office the whole time, all of this was a ride for me. And knowing this story like I do and seeing the way that this episode played out with the way it was filmed and edited made it my favorite episode of the series so far, aside from the pilot episode that got us all hooked. Now, the realization of the figures in Jade's hallucinations being his past lives was something that none of these channels predicted. I could be wrong, but if I am, send me the video. I'd love to see it.
I need receipts.
That revelation of Jade's past lives definitely adds credence to a thread of symbolism that I've been talking about since season 2 on this channel. And that's the Vesica Piscis. The very first Vesica Piscis clue was the name or title Mr. Fish and Loaves given to us in episode 108. And that was our first flashback episode. And that was the name that the writers really wanted us to focus on, being that it was Boyd and his family first presenting that title in unison right before arriving to Frumlin.
Mr. Fish and Loaves. That's right.
The Fish and Loaves story is a Jesus story from the book of Matthew. The Vesica Piscis with the wagon wheels, the painting in Henry's basement that mirrors the symbol in the cave drawings, and countless other Vesica Piscis references. Then we get another one from Young Jade when he says the minnows in the shark's net, which is a reference to the net and fish form created by the Vesica Piscis. The net and fish form has been shown to us many times on the show as well, even at the lighthouse and when Donna tells Boyd about the food shortage. And Jade hears this in French and repeats it back in English while in the presence of Mr. Fish and Loaves. And this indicates that it's something that Jade wanted Boyd to hear because he was just going back and forth in French with his younger self. All of a sudden, he felt the need to repeat this in English. And Boyd is also the one who encountered the spiders, and they showing up real heavy in this episode during Jade's journey. And all of this connects to the scene with Marielle, Christy, and Sophia, and we'll get to that in a minute. And Jade came into town in an Audi, which is also a Vesica Piscis logo. And earlier in this season, I started working on a visual that would explain my theory on how the reincarnation, the time travel, the bloodline, and the visions work with the sharks or the main characters. And I thought that the best way to depict this would be with the Vesica Piscis. So check out this image right here. And Young Jade said that the men Jade saw were a few of many lives that Jade has lived. So that means there are more. Now, the large brown circle would be the constant cycle of all events tied to the bloodline. Let me zoom in a little bit on this red circle and explain my thoughts on how this works, and then we can move forward with the whole diagram. Now, let's just say this red circle represents Jade and Tabitha in their timeline when, the Matthews and Boyd and all of them show up. And the reason why this would be a circle is because they're in a loop and they're all repeating this cycle over and over again. The reason why Martin knew Julie's name, the monsters knowing all of their names, the reason why they knew the ambulance was coming, the reason why Victor paints things that before they actually happen, all of this is because it's recurring events in this particular timeline or in this circle. I've explained this in previous videos, but I've never broken it down with this image right here. Now, this is the same for Miranda and Christopher, which is represented by the yellow circle and the other timelines, so on and so forth. Each of these circles overlap with at least 2 of the previous circles, and that's why Jade is able to tap into the visions of his previous selves while in this particular cycle. Now, during each respective cycle, things may happen slightly different, but the same level of events repeat over and over again. Ethan thinks he made up the Lake of Tears, but he actually remembers it from being there before. Nathan's fears of cicadas wasn't made real in this place. He was there before, and that's why he had a fear of them. Just like the man who threw the dolls in the water was having those dreams because he too had experienced them before, and that's why he was having the dreams. His circle, along with the little girl that Tabitha was dreaming about, would be one of these colors right here, probably the last one or the earliest one. So this red circle right here is Jade and Tabitha's. The yellow circle is Miranda and Christopher's timeline when the man in yellow shows up to Victor in the car. The guy under the boulder might be the green circle. Then the Civil War guy would be the blue circle, and the purple circle would be the Puritan guy with the skull. And I'm thinking the little girl in Tabitha's dream could be the orange circle, or it could be one of these other circles. But I think who we're calling the man in yellow or Sophia is actually an entity that changes form each one of these circles. And each time he's brought out by Jade playing the violin, and that's why we see all of them playing the violin on the porch. Now, this is why we're seeing so much Vesica Piscis symbolism, and this is why they made such a broad point to give the title of Mr. Fish and Loaves to the main character. Jeff Pinkner and Jack Bender said that John Griffin had 4 entire walls covered with lore and explanation for this show, and I'm willing to bet that he has a diagram that's something like this on one of those walls for sure. I mean, the title Mr. Fish and Loaves is literally a reference to the Jesus fish, which is created by the Vesica Piscis. Now, the trippy part was the realization that Jade was just at the post office bugging out the whole time by himself. And I thought that was such a brilliant touch. But it also makes me wonder if the tunnels are really there, and if so, who else knew about it? And don't think for a second that just because we saw Donna get attacked by the scarecrow that means she isn't keeping some information from the people that nobody else knows. I think the fact that she survived got me wondering what happened after Abby snapped and Boyd had to zap her real quick, because Abby was about to pop Donna and Boyd stopped that from happening as well. Think about it. She was about to pop Donna and then Ellis runs up and then Boyd definitely had to zap her real quick. It makes me think about what happened after that incident. Who named Colony House and why did they choose that name? It reminds me of a colony of spiders. Why did Jade's journey take him to Colony House and then to the basement where that creepy camera was found? Where did this kid get these fresh ass vans from? And Jade drunk that blood from the skull, and then he saw them spiders coming out and he was like, what the fuck? Hey, yo, check out these boat oars in the basement and then couple that with the canoes in the Rendezvous calendar picture. Then you got Boyd's If I Had a Boat song, Jade saying that he needed Boyd to be his anchor, the scarecrows being anchored down in the water, and Donna having the notion to re-anchor them down with rocks. Both of these journeys were sparked by Ethan's search for the Lake of Tears. Think about it. Yeller McNasty's jacket was found while Victor and Jade was helping Ethan to find the Lake of Tears, and that's when Jade found the mushrooms. Then you had Tabitha wanting to take Ethan along with Donna on the food trip to see if the Lake of Tears was at the cabins, and that was suggested to her by Jade telling her to indulge Ethan. And these two events were set in motion by the Jim ghost or Jim telling Ethan to find that lake. Now, we have to circle back around and talk about the Vesica Piscis symbolism showing up with the Mary and Christy Sophia scene. So Christy and Mary are sitting there in the room talking, and Sophia pours a drink for Mary after touching her to induce that whole music box trance. And this is the first time that Mary actually shared what she saw when she was in that trance. And she stated that she was able to hear all of the screams of everyone who had died in this place. And Sophia calls her a prophet. Mary says that the people are stuck in there. And when I hear that, I automatically think about the net once again. But this reads right back to the Vesica Piscis symbolism with the fish in the net. And that symbolism reference to her being a witness to the trapped voices places her as a female receiver of the revelation between the living and the dead. And that immediately echoes Mary Magdalene's role after the resurrection of Christ. Then you have the Christi or Christ and the Mariel or Mary connection. And Christy even calls her Mary during that scene. And Mary is the first who saw Christ after the resurrection, and he instructed her to go tell the disciples that he was back. And the first disciple that she runs into is Peter, the fisherman, who also represented in the Vesica Piscis story. Jesus even calls to Peter, saying that he will make him a fisher of men. And in the book of Matthew, Peter was present during the fish and loaves story, feeding the people with the 2 fish. Now, this Christi or Christ and Mary symbolism makes me wonder what role she'll play in the story going forward. I'm thinking that she may be the first one to start having suspicions about Sophia. And I think she's right about there being something ancient in this place, but I don't think everyone is stuck there. Obviously, at the very least, Tabitha and Jade's souls have left there in order to have been reincarnated. However, I don't think everyone there is reincarnated, just the main players, and maybe some of the reoccurring characters, but the souls that are actually trapped there are the ones that are getting caught in the fray. Others are due to their bloodlines, and a selected few are reincarnated there because of the circumstances of that original sin. Because think about it, if the townspeople were turned into monsters by a deal that was made, then Jade and Tabitha would have had to die by the hands of the new townspeople, each cycle in their past lives besides that original sin where they tried to save their child. Also, in the book of Matthew, it is said that Mary and the other Mary were sitting opposite of the tomb. Now, the other Mary that they're speaking of is the mother of James and Joseph. And I thought that it was very interesting, being that Jim is short for James, and it's in the book of Matthew.
Deep.
Now, let's talk about Fatima and her golem for a minute. Her giving rebirth to Smiles Davis was a horrid image that tests the mind past its normal limits. So it's no surprise to me that she wants to explore this tenet with the golem champion forged within it, like roots with hope poured in it, or a talisman with ancient symbols scored in it. In a previous video, I purposely missed this rhythm because I wasn't blitzed to give them that 5th dimension level of decoding Jewish mysticism. Not only is this notion worthy of lyricism, but it fits the schism of a pattern recognition system of ancient wisdom and sinning, something that I've been underpinning since this channel's beginning. Now, Fatima is the first to give us a Wizard of Oz reference in episode 102 when she took Julie to her room to see the moon through the window, and her being the green thumb that plants the endo that Julie used with Elgin before her first story walk crescendo. And she singled out something that I've been dropping on this channel since season 2. And in this video right here, I explain the Wizard of Oz references throughout the show and how it relates, but I also talked about the many religious schools of thoughts that are presented. This was in season 3, my Yellow Brick Road video. Now, these aren't the only undertones that connect these works of art. The various religious formalities in from, like the Hindu, Viking, Scottish, Christian, Hebrew, and all the other nuances that are scattered around the show. L. Frank Baum's father was heavily involved in Freemasonry, and he introduced his son to the esoteric and occult nature of secret societies. L. Frank Baum himself went on to join the Theosophical Society, which was founded by several occultists in 1875. Helena Blavatsky, Henry Steele Olcott, and William Quan Judge were amongst the 17. Much like the show, the Theosophical Society's beliefs are rooted in multiple religious schools of thought. Fromm displays this same notion with the subtle references to different religious clues and cultural nuances, even the Masonic clues like the Tyler who guards the door, Ellis in his pose. We have chessboards and two towers representing Joaquin and Boaz. Secret societies like the Odd Fellows and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Dorothy even refers to the Cowardly Lion as a big old cabbage. And let's not forget about the good witch Glinda, who's dressed in white, who sent Dorothy all the way to the Emerald City when she could have just told her to clack her heels together with the ruby red slippers or the silver slippers. That's just like the boy in white who seems to know how to send people home. So there it is, just a few connections about the Wizard of Oz that I noted. Let me know in the comments if you have any more.
Now, Fatima is seriously active in practicing another form of magic tied to the Jewish mysticism with her golem. Last season, I did a video about the starving times and the dates in Tabitha's Tower Dream before season 3 even started. And we see the dates 1609 on the radio with Mari and also the date 1752, both dates from Tabitha's vision in the tower. Now, I've done videos about the 1609 starving times and the Gregorian calendar change in 1752. But something else I noticed was how the digital artifacts look like the Hebrew letters which would be used to animate the golem according to the Kabbalah. Now, the word emet, or this letter arrangement right here, is placed on the golem's forehead and connected to its animation. And emet means truth. And to deactivate it, the first letter aleph is removed, turning emet into met, which means dead. Now, there's so much to unpack about this episode. We could go on for days. I mean, I've been talking about the Jewish mysticism aspect concerning Jim and Hiram Abiff and all the different things for a long time. And since I've been covering this stuff since season 2, and to actually see this presented in the way that it is exciting to say the least, for sure. I gave this episode a 10 out of 10. And if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff. Share this to somebody that watches the show. And check out this playlist right here with all my From videos in it. And if you're not subbed, hopefully this will be the video to make you do it. That's all for my video this evening. I'll catch you in the next one.